afternoon to Homescapes today. Karibuni sana our viewers. My name is Jasmine Wangai with the most amazing team in the universe, ready to engage you vibrantly with a great conversation today around a very controversial yet pertinent topic on African cultural tax. Yes, that's our topic for today. Looking forward to hearing from you, your comments and questions around this question and around this topic rather. And if you're wondering what we're really talking about, it's a question that I will directly throw right away to our amazing team in trying to define what African cultural tax is. And this has to do why all of a sudden after I go through my education, I work very hard. Go through campus. I was in the University of Nairobi, and so the nights I transnighted in that building called the ADD in cold water to ensure that I'm studying hard, you know, so that I pass.
Broken windows.
Broken windows, you know. And then right after I finish, I pass my education and my exams, I earn a job, and then all of a sudden, there's a society outside there waiting for me to come and rescue them. Who started this? Who gave that responsibility? Who said that this is what human beings, at least in Africa, have to go through and then come rescue the society?
No, Jasmine, for you, that might be pressure, but you have no idea about the boy child.
What about?
Yeah. Let me
What
tell
is happening
you,
with the boy child?
child is the one who feels this African tax heavily. He's the one who is taxed 3 times as much as even the African lady.
There's a number?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Hey,
Where's the number coming
now,
from?
It's not just your family. We start with basic, your family. Immediately you go after campus, your siblings expect anyone younger than you expect madhengeli to pay kakitu. So that one is okay. Then your parents, they are
Number
also
2.
expecting help us out now that Shaman tulisikia ulipata job. Never mind how much you are earning. Perhaps you are not earning that much, but and then your relatives, your uncle who is unknown to you, expects that you should be contributing something to his welfare. Your cousins, when they have a problem, unajua ng'ombe yangu imeanza ugonjwa kidogo, nitupie kitu. Your neighbors, the church community
So
that you
the
grew up
list
in.
is even longer than 3,
Yeah.
Madenge.
You're forgetting that the government has taken 30%.
Already.
And God has taken 10%.
So you're left with 60% to work with.
Hopefully, for God you have given. He has not taken. That's the reason why government comes and takes first. He knows how long the line is.
Yeah.
So the government is not taking chances.
The line is
They will
with
remove
that.
you as first.
Yeah.
So the boy child is in trouble.
So you know you're recounting all those things, and I'm a firstborn in my family,
Yeah.
and I feel like the list is equally longer for me. It's the same as yours.
Okay, you're also
So
dating,
I don't
so
see.
you have you have even being taxed.
Nice one.
Even the cab driver who drops your girl home expects you to add something on top of the normal
Yeah,
rates.
yeah.
Because come on.
Hizi ni mashida za Africa. There's a very good movie called The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. You should watch it. It's on Netflix.
Yes.
It shows you the responsibility of being raised by a village. So, the whole village actually, it expects that somehow you come up with a solution
Yes.
and lift them up. This boy actually manages to do that. It's a real story. I really loved
A
it.
true story,
But
yeah.
there is, I think the reality of people like us born in the developing world, I don't even think it's just Africa. I think Asia and part of, I would think Latin America, those people who are very, we say positively, they have strong family values,
They're communal.
but they are strong family responsibilities.
Yes.
They are very communal,
Yeah.
and actually the obligations are very real. If you are raised in the village and then you left and went to the city, now our son has gone to the city. If you do get a good job, it's really good news for you, but it is good news for the village as well.
well.
And everybody knows, you know, that you've gotten a good job, you're doing well. One to you when they find out how much you pay for rent. Hey, you have that much money.
Yeah, they're the people during your graduation or a wedding. They come,
Oh, yeah.
unajua sisi huyu, ni sisi tumemlea,
Sidio.
tumembeba sijui tangu yake, and then you look back and wondered, have I ever
Do I know them?
I just met you for the
Just by
first
the fact
time.
that you are raised within a community, you know.
We qualify,
Wanajihesabu.
wanajihesabu pamoja.
In fact, they will tell you, you may not know me.
Take care of him.
Ile kupanguza makamasi. Yeah.
They really take offense when you don't recognize them as such. Or maybe you have even your graduation at your after campus, like a graduation event. How kuniita? How?
But you know, now that I think about it, I wonder whether the offense is because utakosa kuwahesabu.
Kwa nini kwa the budgeting?
That you might be coming home with that time.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you guys have caught yourself in this situation, but I think talking to my friends, I've realized. Okay, so you're caught between a rock and a hard place as a Christian. On the one hand, your parents or whoever is, might want something to do with your income, asks you, na mathangi ulisema ulipata kazi wapi? You work at KPLC. Ati wanakulipa ngapi?
Yeah, Safaricom is bad because everybody knows.
Yeah, so you say Safaricom and then they ask, now wanakulipa how much?
What?
Now, on the one
question.
hand, you don't want to say, but on the other hand, you don't want to lie because the Lord is watching your every move. On the third, whatever, you can't rebuke. Even the Bible says, don't rebuke your parents and say, "Ay, mom, you can't ask me that question. You're not allowed." So you are there at, do I not? What do I say? And if you say what you're earning, watu wanajipanga sasa na wanaona hiyo pesa ni mingi.
Maureen, because
And
even
you
when you
don't
lowers
say-
it, even when you lowers it, unaambia maybe you're getting maybe like 20 Gs, for example. You don't want to tell them that you're getting 20 Gs. You say 10, they're still shocked. So you get a
Every amount you said.
so you're getting 10K and and all that. So you
And they start pangani the story, like,
Exactly.
hapa ndio utatoa pesa ya nini ya kuku,
Okay.
the what do you for fertilizer for
Fertilizer,
sijui where,
wa-
hapo yeah.
Kupeleka
And then-
nini
then,
ng'ombe
yeah.
cattle dip.
Kupeleka
So you
ng'ombe.
take a loan and you buy your first car.
Oh my god.
My goodness.
Then you go home.
Yes.
And when you reach home, first of all, the guest has arrived. So the guest must be greeted. So the village must come to greet you. And then they come with the contribution cards. So you can find like a few have come and then have already written your name.
yes.
So how much?
Kadi ziko na the kasta hapa chini kuna ya 1,000, 5,000 na 10,000. And they tell you, you the way.
Alafu you know the unending harambes
yeah.
za church huko, hatutaki kumention ni church gani,
Yeah.
but huko
Lakini
church
ziko.
they're ever unending harambes.
Eh.
So as you're given these cards, because
Yeah.
you're the guest of honor, definitely the amount goes higher. And it's
yeah.
very difficult to say no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's very hard therefore to you are afraid of, what is the word, thriving. You're afraid of making it because mtu tu akiona tu you have made it one more step, they want to make it together with you, so you want to pretend you're poor. You want to pretend you're poor.
Lorraine, Ama, you're afraid of making it public, so you
Yes.
will strive nevertheless,
Yeah.
but you don't want to
Privately,
make
hata
it.
when you go home, you don't want to go with a car, you
go-
don't want
yeah,
to go,
you go with
una hustle
sandals
na
and
matatu
t-shirts.
na
You know, if you don't go,
Yeah.
I was just about to say, if you don't go, the delegations will be sent to you.
Yes.
Because the questions, where do you live? Where do you live nowadays?
Yes. Oh, yes.
So you will be asked questions, where are your children going to school? By the way, are your children going to school these days? And then they will ask you, so where do you live? Where is your house? Then they'll find somebody who knows where you live.
Yes.
Then in the morning, there will be either a knock on the door or the bell will ring. And then a delegation from your
And
village
you
will
have
come.
not hidden your goodies.
Your goodies
They are
in
there.
your house.
Yeah.
They are right in
They
front
You
of
know.
can
them.
see you are living well.
When there's a
Yeah, and
when-
they represented not your parents, but the village,
Yeah.
the local community, even the chief. These have projects back home. So those demands begin to happen
Yes.
immediately.
Words first.
Very
That's
fast.
the next
Even
one.
because I think what our discussion is trying to say, what maybe the individuals go through, especially with all this burden of the village. But now maybe this individual finds maybe it's a lady who has found a young man and they are planning to get married. And so because of all these expectations, I have been involved in cases where the parents are saying, because you are going to this side, tunaenda kwa kina Madhenge sasa. You know, please, everything else that you had, you know, it belongs to, because now you're no longer going to give it to us. So even now the tax now there is huge. It's I don't know what to call it.
Yeah,
You get, because
yeah.
I mean the society, you know, they say that they took you to school together with the
yeah.
parents and all that. Now because you're going now, please leave us something to leave
Yeah,
us something to eat.
work
So
with,
I've
yeah.
seen, yes, I've seen where people, you know, are saying that, you know, you can't leave the house to us. You get tutakuwa tukienda wapi? You get leave the car now, because your husband to be has a car. See, this one,
Why do you
yes,
need
let
to
it.
It's a
cut?
consolation
Yeah.
prize.
Exactly.
Usiwache tu hivyo.
Exactly.
And so that leads me to the question as I listen to this banter, because we seem to acknowledge this issue. Is it a question of expectation or responsibility? Paying African tax. Is it
Just
a-
mean the society doesn't care.
As long as they get.
How you frame it,
feel?
how you frame it is your
So
problem.
you will part with your money.
Yes.
Give us the money.
Yeah.
If you want to face it as a responsibility,
Or an
in fact, if you can face it as a responsibility, the better.
better.
Our expectations are legit.
And
But-
they are
but-
likely to be made.
But you're the same people. We're the same people who keep preaching and saying the truth shall set you free. So that if I discover, if it's an expectation, goodness, wacheni niwaambie, napanga virago na ninasahau hiyo story. But so anyways, that's really what we're trying to
I think
do.
the difficulty is that, you know, you don't control the narrative of that society. Even your own relatives, they control it for themselves.
Yeah.
And for them, each of them is persuaded and convinced at the heart level that you owe them.
Yes.
You know, each
Yeah.
of them is convinced. And even the guys that you left in the village, by the way, who for some reason or the other, you know, did not get the same opportunities that you did, and so they're still quote unquote languishing in relative poverty and need. When you do go there, just the fact that you're driving, my goodness, that is a huge statement.
Yeah.
It already singles you out as a benefactor, however you want to look at it. And by the time you park at that local, you know, shopping center, there will be enough of a flood of people coming to greet you after
Yeah.
a
Oh,
long
yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And then when you are driving away, sasa umetuacha and aje,
Umetuacha.
yeah. How can you
Now,
just leave us like
every
that?
person you will find along the way as you're driving away.
Yes.
Everyone will stop you.
Expect.
Yes.
Tumetuacha aje.
A few meters ahead.
Yes.
Another
one.
one.
Because
Yeah.
the report has gone that the daughter or the son of so and so is
Yeah.
around.
that day there will be a windfall in terms of the number of people who will come visiting.
Yeah.
So they frame their own narrative and they expect you to comply. I think it will be very challenging, and I don't know that people in the West don't understand this aspect, this complexity of how we have to live. Even and the more quote unquote blessed you appear, the more complex your world becomes. And even when
Absolutely.
you don't want it,
The poorer you become, the more blessed you become, the poorer you become.
Also, it
What's left
appears.
for your needs,
Yeah.
to be honest.
and some people have resigned. They told me there is an Igbo saying, if you want it to be, you know, really popular, say there's an Igbo saying or an African saying
Okay.
that says that if you help 9 beggars, you will be the 10th one.
Yeah.
You know,
For sure.
Oh my
and sometimes
goodness.
people will revert to almost, you sense an attitude, and really what they are doing is reacting and defending themselves because they have seen you can truly be
Yeah.
overwhelmed. You've seen people who visit Africa, you know, from the West for the first time. They think that, oh my God, these people are so needy. And whenever they go into a poor community, they think the only solution is to bring loads of money because these people are so poor.
Yeah.
I have to solve this problem. But our situation is much more complex than that. And we know that is never even an answer because then we get into the trap of thinking that, you know, what we call the Messiah complex, that unless I rescue these people, then, you know, they are doomed.
They are doomed,
And,
yeah.
and then we
Let
can
me-
forget that they also have, there's a God in heaven and
takes care of
who
them.
cares and loves them
Yeah.
even as much as he cares and loves you. And the fact that he has placed you in a slightly better situation doesn't mean that you have no obligations, but it doesn't mean that then you've become suddenly the hero and the rescuer of the community.
community.
I want to follow up with that and ask, is it not more true than false that in Africa to help really is money? All our complexities,
Yeah.
like you mentioned, have to do with the fact that, in my
Ultimately.
opinion, we're in a third world country, our economy is not doing well, so there's a good chance what someone needs
It's money.
It's money.
Yeah.
Well,
There's
even
really
some
no other way of
Nigerians,
If you look at the
Nigerians
question
Our
of
economy is
food,
monetary.
You look at the
Yeah.
question
Yeah.
of food, you look at the question of education,
Of
whether it's
housing,
clothing or shelter that they need,
anything.
it all points back
all-
to money.
Even worse still, even death, sickness and death, it is a question
It's
of
still a
money.
question of money.
Yeah.
So I think there is a reality there that we recognize that the African cultural context is within an economic situation of relative need.
Yes.
So on average, the money is needed and is never enough.
Yeah.
So if you appear to have something,
A little more.
a little,
Thou shalt
yeah,
share.
that shall be shared.
Compulsory.
You
the
have to
11th
share.
commandment.
Yes.
Yeah.
In the African Bible.
In the African Bible.
Oh, we need an African Bible. You know, to
There's
add
an
some
11th
commandments.
But you know, the community raised you.
Yeah.
And they raised you
Which
within
sometimes is
that
not
relative,
true.
Yes.
within that relative need.
It's not true.
They were never
So they've
around.
been expecting. So your question is expectation or obligation. There's a high level of expectation because we laced you. We, you know, to one saying, your opinion is not actually required.
No, right?
I might never have done anything, but
My brother,
In
my
fact,
brother was
there.
patient.
Means I was present when you were raised.
yes.
More likely what they did was
They even
punish
asked
you
you.
and pitch you and send you to the shops. This was
This
them
one who
raising
told
you.
me, I don't know how to, let me try to interpret, to translate it. You were born when I was seeing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, how does
Uruziwa
that,
kama
how
naona.
does that equate
Yes,
raising
meaning
But doesn't
and care?
that then become
you're obligated to me.
then the question? I'm just asking. Then the issue then doesn't it then become a question of responsibility? Because I'm seeing in this, let's call it miasmas of dire need. Okay, now we are in a sea
Maya what?
and we are shipwrecked. We are sinking. Okay, so I can see you are floating. So the tendency is that I'll come and cling
Grab
to
at
you.
you.
Yeah.
And then somebody else will cling to the one that is clinging
Yes.
to you. Then we all drown.
Yes.
So I think then our priority must become just to rescue us from this messiah complex of thinking that we are there to rescue the entire community. That we must be able to have discerning hearts and discerning minds to know, because some of those things you've said that everything you can boil it down to finance,
Money.
Finance is
financial
money,
need.
yeah.
Then we must ask the question of sustainability. You know, I mean, the fact that I got a job,
Yeah.
how does that factor into raising the entire income of a village?
Yes.
That is not
Yes.
even possible.
Yes.
So we must
A Kenyan
discriminate
job, I
our
must add.
engagements
Yeah.
to that which is relevant and that which is also true. Because it's not true that it is your responsibility to raise the village's income.
Now, Bishop, as you continue there, let's switch kidogo to the issue of marriage.
Of
'Cause,
marriage.
Marriage.
Because in our day, there is a resurgence of people who are like, this dowry thing, kwanza, we don't understand it. Na sitaki kusikia mnataka dowry, na si tumalizane. Because you feel like these in-laws are out to milk me of every drop of blood.
They milk back blood.
I'm living dead. Just to, and many people have come out saying they feel this is sort of another African colonization where you have to raise this money. Everyone is expecting you to bring such an amount, and almost as if again it becomes burdensome for the person who is. So there is also the question of, is it inched in culture that this quote unquote cultural tax that can even become quite burdensome for the young family that is just starting out.
I think that's a reaction to, you've said they are already burdened. Yeah? It's a reaction to a cultural practice that has been removed from its original context. And I think that's the difficulty. Because now, the eyes that we view reality with is that everybody is after me. You know, everybody is trying to exploit me. And I need to defend myself to even survive. You know, the Mama Mboga has overcharged me. The other person has, amesema ameniuzia debe moja ya nini, ya viazi, and inside it's hollow. So it's almost a real man-eat-man society. So even when I'm taken to a legitimate context, like, you know, dowry, which is not necessarily bad, even that I view it as this is yet another opportunity
Yeah.
to be exploited. And because it has been removed, I said it has been hyped from its original cultural context, where we all understood this is the ways of our people. I don't think we have now the ways of our people. We have been urbanized, culturalized. In fact, we live in a cultural salad where you can't even distinguish, okay, where does the tomato start and where does the mango begin? And, you know, it's all a mix-up.
It's a mash.
So it's very difficult for us now even to judge an act like that, you know, in its pure and original form. Because it has morphed several times. And it's true, some people are there actually to exploit. Show us the money.
And to pick up on what Madenge is saying and what she said, when you brought up the issue of the Messiah complex, and Madenge brought up the issue of marriage, have you guys ever noticed, especially as pastors, probably you have received these cases before, you will find that a married couple, there is a chance one of them has a set of parents that is in absolute need, and the other person comes from a family that's relatively stable, and the clash is always at, are we going to thrive as a family, or are we going to spend all our money
will our priorities
in this
be
direction
to lift our family?
to lift our family? And it's not our
And
family,
in this
it's
case,
your
our-
family,
yeah.
your family.
Or
In which case, that person feels that it could be that person, the one whose family is in need, maybe has a messianic complex, or maybe doesn't, but is trying to explain it to the spouse who doesn't come
There
from
is
a
need
need,
nyumbani
and
kuna.
that person doesn't understand because they have never been in need. So they don't understand what is this thing you're tied to like that. What is it? Can we try and thrive as a family together? And then if the money, a lot of money goes in that direction, then the one whose family is stable begins to feel, wait, even if we're giving parents money, when you are the one
But it's
who
only your
takes all
boat
the
that
money,
is always sinking.
is your body that is always in need of mending. Wakwani sisi. And then if you send money, this other side that's stable, the money that you send, even if you have, say you have kidogo money, you have 3K. When you can send money, it is nothing to the stable family. There's those people there needs are local 100K,
That's
and
change.
that's
Actually,
change. You're
there's
not
someone
doing
that I know that
anything.
who sent the parents money and then received more than double what you get. No, we know that you guys are the ones who are in.
Return to sender.
It didn't come up. It didn't come in a bad way. It came, thank you, thank you. But you know that you guys are in much.
So the gesture was appreciated.
Yeah, it was appreciated.
Yes,
But you can imagine what it did to this guy. You don't recover from that. You get, at least you'd have waited maybe for 3 weeks.
I thought you'd be happy.
No, the parents were happy at that moment. But I think the parents felt,
This is
it-
money.
was at
That's
stake.
the kind. This is money.
So and I think it's very, very true that you always find families like that. Worse if maybe the wedding process was compromised, maybe by one set of the parents. They were very adamant, and dowry was, you're just being told that it's not enough. Then you get married, then you're being told, now let's take a chunk and support who that mzee or that whoever who
alitukalia
alitukalia, and all that. But I think there's need for, even before the wedding, for couples really to interact and to really talk and to discuss. You get, you may never discuss fully, but that awareness should not happen when you're in marriage. I think one should be prepared, and perhaps one should have information way before they get married. I think that's the reason why you have PMCC. That's the marriage preparation journey. You get.
I'm tempted to ask you, if we have the conversation beforehand and you show me how in your place there is great need, and I'm not willing to share my money. Is it okay if I leave you?
We will not be taking at 10%
why-
of our
that's why-
Something has accomplished to stop
That's why-
us subjecting of breaking
That's
you
why
apart.
when Bishop is sharing, leading you to say the vows there, it says, all I have, I share with
So
you.
that's what I'm saying. No, I don't want to say that. Is it okay? Will the bishop allow me to leave?
No. Because that's not the reality.
At the altar,
You
when
will have
Hi, Bishop, that vow me, I'm not
with your
giving.
family.
Some people even request, can we write our own vows?
yeah, you're right.
Yeah, okay. Nice one.
And you see, once you say the vow, you're tied. It's in richness and in poverty. So the word you hear poverty, the word poverty anywhere, or all I have is, all I have I give to you. the other part of that coin is that what I don't have, I won't give to you.
What I don't have, you will give to me.
You see, all I have to give to you, even my poor background and family.
It's part of
Bring
it.
it.
Do you guys realize how marriage is a complex thing?
Goodness.
Ufai kusemewa hapa.
Oh my goodness.
That's why you always send
Yeah.
the vows, well in advance. Get to know that these are the
think
ones.
about
But
it.
because at that point, you're blinded by love. Actually you feel that I need to share everything.
Oh,
I have with
yes.
this.
Because the vows that time, they feel so deep and romantic.
Yeah.
You
People
even
cry.
cry when you reach all I have, I share
Yeah,
with you.
because it's everything. And that time what I have is kidogo, but I still want to share all of it with you.
I
Yeah.
think there's a joke we keep making with this girl here, and we say a person presents themselves, when they're standing right straight at you,
to
you see
face,
them
eye
face to
to
face,
eye.
it's perfect.
Yeah.
But then they make a slight move, and then you get to see the baggage they are carrying along. You decide,
It's never
like,
that
I'm not
serious.
gonna take this journey. Yeah.
Too much baggage.
That's
So my
why
poor relative.
But by that time you have said there's no reservation. Does anyone in this congregation have any objection as to why these two people should not be
married.
Yeah.
married? And you're the first to say nothing, absolutely nothing at all.
and you are asked. Do you have any reason why should
You
you get married to
yourself.
this?
Yeah.
You say
None
none
whatsoever.
None whatsoever.
None whatsoever.
And
You
the
get-
pastor
yeah.
said it has been said with such conviction.
Yeah. And people
clap.
clap and enjoy
And
it.
people automatically, but there's a reason why. I think that's why we should have this discussion. There's a reason why people are told this is the bride side and this is the groom side.
Yeah.
You get so that you may see. This, you see that, and so by the time that you're making the vow, you really know that these are going to be my people. You get, and either they are going, either I'm going, my self-esteem will be affected, or itainuliwa. You get.
Yeah.
You know that what we call that? We discovered that term the other day. I was telling Reverend Jasmine. There's something called hypergamy, and I was telling Pastor Wadenge, and hypogamy. Have you guys heard about it? Hypergamy is when you marry up, social status, economic status, and hypogamy is when you marry
Down.
Okay. Okay.
Oh,
What if both of you are married
Value.
now? You want to know.
Now, if you're equal, I think they call it mesogamy. If you're equal,
Oh, okay.
in which
Equal,
case
yeah.
both of you
Category.
understand the fight that is
Yeah,
ahead of
yes,
you.
yeah.
But when you marry up, it's those people who will be looking at your people and saying, "Hey, hawa wamekuja huku."
The education institution.
Yes, and you normally see them, and even in parking, you see 2NK from Nakuru, 2NK matatus, and then this other side, you're seeing other cars.
Yeah.
My Range
Then,
Rover, Prado. They haven't paid for that crowd where people are dancing. It's them who have paid. Nyinyi mmekuja na matatu.
So I think
So guys,
people should be aware. This is what I'm going to get married. This is the family that I'm joining, and these are the responsibilities, and this is how we are going to combine both our efforts and our mindset, so that we may be, all these either benefits or challenges from both sides do not really affect our marriage.
No,
and
Yeah,
our
you know.
before you
It can be a
continue.
beautiful journey for both parties.
Yes.
Especially, and I think the premarital counseling, whatever, as the wachungaji, we must take it even more seriously, especially because we know at the time when the couple is in love, they are really not seeing those things. You can see the details, and you can even see way before they get married. You can see the kind of needs that this person has come with, compared with the side that they are marrying into or getting married into. There's such a gap that this needs to be a conversation. And if you don't have the conversation, then you have shortchanged them. Because at that point, they probably cannot see. If I'm the one marrying into her rich family, I might even look at it very positively. But you need to tell me what that will do to me as a man and my self-esteem, and how I need to be secure, because I'm marrying into a girl who probably the family will even start,
never need anything.
making donations to my family or to this unit here, which as a man I might say, no, I can take care of my girl. And they're like, no, you can't. You have no idea.
When you can't decide, you will see.
Do you even know how she has grown up?
Yeah, yeah.
You can't even begin to take care of her.
Ooh,
So
poor
it's
guys.
very important for me to be taken through those steps and be told this is what you're getting into. So we need you. We're not telling you not to do it, but we want you to be ready, because it could be be more challenging than what you think. And because I'm no longer dealing with the girl I'm in love with, I'm dealing with her people who I don't probably like, not even, you know. So that's a different conversation.
Yeah.
So we must also help our people to see that other point of view.
Yeah. You know, guys, before we take a break, I still want us to go deeper into exploring, okay, now I'm aware this is what I'm getting myself into. This is how the family I'm getting married into, or the relationship I'm in, this is how it looks like. I'm wondering, to what extent do I come along? What responsibilities do I say yes to? And what responsibilities do I say, these are societal standards, these are things society has put up for me, and I don't think they're biblical. I don't think God puts such standards on us. We will try explore that to see, are there burdens, even though societal, even though they've been there for years, that we place on ourselves, and we place a heavy yoke on our people, yet God has not placed it on us. So I'll ask to take a short break, and then right after, we'll continue with that discussion. See you shortly.
Ninashangaa nikielewa wewe ni zaidi ya vile nilivyoambiwa juu yako. Ninashangaa nikielewa wewe ni zaidi ya vile nilivyoambiwa juu yako. Wewe ni zaidi. Wewe ni zaidi Bwana, vile nilivyoambiwa juu yako. Wewe ni zaidi ya vile nilivyoambiwa juu yako. Wewe ni zaidi Bwana, vile nilivyoambiwa juu yako. You are bigger than what people say, God. Bigger than what people say. Strongest one, you are Lord. Bigger than what people say. You are bigger than what people say about you. Bigger than what people say. Never seen this kind of God before. He is awesome. Awesome God, you are in all your ways. Undisputed, no one can contest your love, your love. Love it gives me comforting within. And demons flee. Demons flee, they tremble at your name. Tremble at your name, and every knee is bowed. And every tongue confess your name, Jesus. Jesus, Jesus, Jesus is your name. And you're greater. You're greater. Stronger. You're stronger. And higher. You're higher than any other. Any other. Bigger than the universe, yes you are. You're bigger than the sun and the stars. You're bigger than the things, bigger than the things that can tear me apart, Lord. You're bigger than the problems I face. You're bigger than the disasters that I've seen. You're bigger, you're so much bigger, Jesus, than what this life may bring. For I know you're great. You're great in all the earth. For I know you're great. You're great He is our defender, protector. Lover of my soul.
Karibu sana from the break. I hope you're still with us and enjoying the conversation like we are enjoying. And if you just joined us, Karibu sana to Homescapes. We're exploring the topic on African cultural tax. And before we took the break, in few words, this was our question. Who is the legitimate benefactor? Is that a good word? Benefactor of African cultural tax. You know, if during my graduation or my wedding, I get these people all of a sudden. In fact, I don't think graduation and wedding is a perfect example when it comes to cultural tax. I'll think something like a rorashio, bride price, for those who don't know what that means. All of a sudden, there are these men, elders from the village who show up and saying they brought me up and they want a share of this price that has been taken home. Are they legitimate benefactors? Or I've earned a job, I'm back home to celebrate what God has done for me with my family. They come now and hey, kachai, kachai.
You know, I've become one of
Nini ya
those.
kusema
I've
asanti.
become one of those wazes.
Yes,
Nowadays, so
benefiting.
I'm a bit worried when your face has changed.
I'm
Because
just
you know what they do.
representing, passionate
This is what
people
even they
here.
do. Let me just try to perhaps frame an image of what happens in there. So you are somewhere as a bride, then you're invited. Then this was just ask on behalf of your parents, do you want us to eat this? Whatever. Do you want us to eat? Then you say, yes, I want you to eat. Then go. You get?
my
So you're not even part of the discussion, the negotiation there. That's what really happens. You get? But now maybe answering to your question, I think one of the things that you have to do is first to live in reality. You get to live in the present, to be in the present time. You get. You may not be able to do many things because you have to first understand. Maybe I'm getting 20K. 20K can only do this much. You know, if I budget, maybe I can only support people with 500. Be diligent in that which you can be able to afford. Because I think this is the cause of why many people are finding themselves stealing. You know, anytime that you're given a job, people don't see how you're going to change society or how you're going to change perhaps the world because of that position. They see now when this person goes in there, this person will eat and I will equally eat because of all this pressure. You get? So I think sometimes you have to understand this is where I am at, this is what I can only be able to do. You get? And people will always be speaking. Even now, Jeff Bezos, the richest man in the world, people will always say this man can support 4 or 5 countries for 5 years. You get? He's not doing that. People will always demand, and those people will always complain and complain. So, but if you don't live in the reality, then you find yourself that you're messing up and you're really unable to meet even to help them. You know, at that moment.
Let me jump on Mohora's point and ask. Now, you've told us that if I have 500 that I can give, I should be diligent in giving that. Now, let's think about a family situation where, on one side of the family, of these 500, they need all of it. Perhaps even 1,000. Kwa sababu huko shida imejaa huko. They need 1,000 every month, even though you are only able to give 500. And if this other side of the family don't need anything from you. In fact, once in a while they will send you a gift, or just to say, go mwenda mkula kakuku, because they I think are even in a better situation than you. And the temptation, perhaps, of one side of the couple is to feel we're always giving to your family. We are the guys who always have problems. Now, it's good that we should address this in PFCC, but now let's think about the marriage situation where this is already happening. And nyinyi kazi yenu ni shida, sisi kwetu hata hatuitishangi kitu. Sasa, even the plans we had to save, perhaps to develop ourselves, to nunue a ploti, or buy an apartment, or maybe even move from where we are living currently and go to a better house. We can't do that because your family is always demanding. So, is there a legitimacy there, or perhaps I need to equal out the budget on what goes to this family or what goes to this family?
You know, let me no, I don't not jump in. There's a way I'm gonna ask for this answer to Madhenge's question. One time I was talking to Reverend Jasmine a while back, and we were trying to, because I think I think the underlying issue between in a couple like that is the spouse from the stable family, excuse me, they doesn't really understand hii ni need gani.
Yeah.
Why is it so deep? Why is it so consistent? Are
Yeah.
you saying in the past year of us consistently helping, you have not moved an inch? Are you still where you were when you were when we got married? And we were trying to go down to the details of can the people who come from stable families maybe be helped to someone paint a picture of this need so that there never arises the issue of equality, tumetuma huku 10k
Yeah.
hata kwetu
Hata
tume
kwetu
10k.
10K.
Because the reason you're asking for that equality is because you don't understand the poverty or the need in that home. So what I want us to do, if we can, is to explain that. So Reverend Jasmine went into the details of, have you ever found yourself unatafuta hata 5 bob,
Nauna?
5 shillings to buy one mandazi because you are really hungry? And have you ever looked into your purse to look for coins, to look for some, because you don't have it? So when we were going into those details, then you can begin to see, to be honest, if that person is in that state, I can't start
I don't
saying,
need to
"Pia
insist
mimi,
on,
I
others
need
need
this."
to do it.
So maybe we can try to paint a picture of this need that can be existent, so
Yeah.
that the people who come from stable families can understand it, so that they stop asking for that equality
I
that you're
think that's
talking about.
really
Because it's
important
going to be-
because even in PMCC class hata ikiexplainiwa utafeel maybe we can support them for 2 years and then they'll be somewhere and
Yeah.
then we no longer need
Yeah.
to do that. But as you mentioned, this might be something consistent that for the next 10, 20 years, you're still supporting this family consistently and there is no recognizable change.
Change in
Yeah.
the situation, and you're
Yeah,
wondering,
there
when
will
before we
the
got
need
married,
persists.
you were not
Persists.
dead.
Yes.
How is it that you look like you're depending on you're patched every money we give you? Is like,
Oh my goodness.
you know what I mean? Because it can look, and you wonder, kwani, what were you doing before I got to this family, or because your son or your daughter got a job?
You
So can
know-
we paint that picture maybe and help people
Wow,
to?
but I just think about the approach to development, right? If you look at how development issues are approached, the question of sustainability is here. It's
Yeah,
so
it's
important.
priority.
So I think what that question is alluding to is the perpetual giving without ever seeing any change. So it's calling for a deeper level of thinking,
Yes.
so that we move our families from poverty. Actually, it's lifting them off poverty.
Yeah.
So if I am the privileged one and I have access to resource, and resources include knowledge, it includes experience, networks, and all that kind of thing, I think I've heard of people who have said that you could begin to think of how you can give a fishing load to your family than fish.
Than the fish.
Because you have to be fishing for them permanently. But if you equip them to know how to fish, show them even where to fish, and the Lord is here, probably your work will be to equip with knowledge, understanding, and then the skill, and then they can do the fishing for themselves.
You
So
know-
that's something could look at.
You know, in your discussions, what's funny, being the host and listening to you, without really saying it, you know the conclusion you're coming to? There is a responsibility
Yes.
Yeah.
for an African tax. That's really what you're saying. Before now we go to, when you get into the issue of balance and who should get more, are we being patched, are we being what? It's actually, we are saying, and I want to ask it directly, are we agreeing there is a responsibility to pay the African tax?
If I would just make a comment even before answering that, it is also to say, because the question that was asked of balance is important, because sometimes the place of, even as believers, the place of honoring our parents, because I believe that's what the couples are trying to do, not just meet a need, but as a way of meeting that need, also honor the parents in their particular circumstance, is that for the family side that is not very needy, they may understand honor or your engagement slightly different from the point of resources, in which case, just coming and checking in on them and seeing how they are doing and having just a heart-to-heart conversation is all they may require of you. Because it is true, they may not want your resources. In fact, they will give you resources, and that's not where the question is. But there's need for engagement at the relational level that is deep and honoring and enduring. And that's what probably that particular family that is not resource needy may require from you. You know, they want to see you in a stable relationship. Your marriage is doing well. Their kids are doing well. They're even willing to, how can we help? That might be the question on that. But also to say that for the person then who develops a messiah complex and becomes, you know, the savior of not just the family but the village, there are real dangers to that. Because what happens then is that if you see yourself as the solution, in a country like this, what has happened historically is that people like those have been led to other ways of earning monies because they feel what I'm doing is not making enough of a difference. And so it's very easy to go into deals, quote unquote, and in this country deals are usually not very good because you ignore the morality of what you're doing if it is going to earn you the money. And a lot of people, and we have seen this even in the media, people get murdered and they follow. The first thing is they follow the trail of money that this individual had come into a lot of money. But they were trying to solve maybe part of this pressure, dealing, how do I deal with the village, you know? And then suddenly they see a deal where they can make now maybe hundreds of millions. And suddenly I can be what these people have been expecting me to be. You know, whatever it is, I can bring electricity to the village. I can do this. I can build a new house and so on. And then they go into a path that is very slippery and then sometimes leads even to death. And we've seen that. There are many cases. So that's a real danger. Our politicians say the same thing. That the whole village comes to me. Where do you expect me to get this money? So they literally steal from the public coffers in order to give to their villagers and then be popular because that's the expectation. And I think we need to draw a very clear line in what is really my obligation. What does God expect of me? If you're a believer, that's the question I need to ask and ask myself, you know, is this what God expects of me? And there are certain areas that he expects of me. I mean, for me, for example, my mom, who's a widow and elderly, is completely dependent on us kids to take care of her. And I happily do that. And I know, even in the scriptures, this is what God expects that I should do. It's not the same thing as, you know, the next person who walks in from my village and says, you know, I want this. I may be favorably disposed towards them because I'm a believer. And if I see that they are in genuine need and I'm in a position to help, and not just financially, but maybe by giving opportunities, I have no problem doing that. Because even from God's point of view, I think he expects that because he has blessed me, I'll become a channel of blessing for his people. So I'll do it. But because of my relationship with God and what I understand to be my responsibility as a human being. Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Okay, I just wanted to give that
Two burning
question
points.
a missional approach. And the answer to that could be a missional approach. So if there's an imbalance, I think it behoves the person who comes from a well-to-do family to be missional to the family of the person who is the you know, without much resources, and just give. And there are many reasons and motivations for giving. Number one, care, love and care. So if you love your wife, or if you love your husband, you will want to uplift their families. So your love and your care will motivate you to give. You also be motivated by the need to make a difference. So if you have resources that you can give to make a difference in another family's or another individual's life, you do it. That's why you are educating people that are not your own because of something. That's why you're contributing to a mission. In Kamorio, for example, that's what this church does. We try to mobilize our people to give towards a need. So if you have something, no matter how little or big it is, it will make a difference in somebody's life or a community. Another reason for giving could be just your ego. It feels good for a man. It feels good to give. And that's why if you give, if you receive something, no matter how small, from your son-in-law who is not well to do, for goodness sake, receive it with appreciation. Do not turn back that gift. Allow him to thrive in that place of feeling good that he gave. And there's another very serious motivation for giving. They are called psychologists tell us that giving lets the brain produce a hormone called the endorphin. So giving produces endorphins, and that's a good feel hormone.
feel-good
So
hormone.
if you give, you get it. So why deny a person
An opportunity.
an opportunity to feel good
Yeah.
because of their good act
yeah.
of giving?
Yeah.
And that's what I could say.
Thank
for
I was
you.
gonna say to what Madenge asked. I've seen a couple do this before, where there was the issue of imbalance and one wondering, sister, we're just sending this side, it's not coming back this side, and I. At some point, I don't know whether it was intentional or the story just happened, and the husband, who is the one who was coming from the needy family, the one without much resources, started to tell his wife about his growing up story and how, how home was like, the kind of food they would eat, whether they would even eat at all, or how he would go to school and how his sweater would even, you remember the sweaters for some schools, primary schools, kitambo, ilikuwa ile auzi kabisa. You know how it can unravel? And it would unravel completely, but because there wasn't money for another sweater, so long as it's covering his chest. So as she was listening to him, she started thinking, oh my God, how can I put myself on the same level with this? Maybe God, because God determines the times and places where we are born. And I was born in a place where if my sweater got torn kidogo, I'd just say, Mom, sina
Get a new
sweater.
one.
Quickly. And then she's listening to her husband telling the story of an unraveling sweater and he couldn't get another. And suddenly that wall started to fall. That thing for even me, I must be my family must also be given. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I thought to myself, as what Reverend Maggie said, if you really love your wife or your husband, as you're listening to them and to their story and to their family's life, your hard heart can begin to start melting because you're putting yourself in that space and seeing all we have,
Yeah.
we will give. Because that mother did a lot to give me the kind of man I have now, the kind of woman I have now, and I want to give back so that now if she needs a sweater, she can get 2 or 3 or 5. You know what I mean?
It's no
'Cause
more
now-
a question of
yeah,
equality.
now you get into that spot.
The
Absolutely.
ultimate
Thank you, yeah.
sacrifice, then, the ultimate full circle of that story, and it has happened in many families, is that when you, if you are the one from a more able
Stable
family,
family.
actually you become the giver to your in-laws family, not even your husband. And sometimes your husband saying, hey, let's also, we have plans as a
Yeah.
family, so don't give everything. But the other person is so touched and so moved and so grateful to God. Because sometimes, when you feel like you are in need, it's relative. When you see the need on the other side, suddenly you realize how blessed you are and how generous God then expects you to be with those who have been in need. And you become the generous person. Because giving really, at the end of the day, is a posture of the heart.
Yes.
And we have people who are very generous, even though they are very poor.
Absolutely.
Because it's really a posture of the heart.
Yes.
And it's the way we see reality. And if you see the issues through God's eyes, then it becomes less of a fight or a competition between, maybe husband and wife,
Yeah.
and more of, what does God expect us to do with what He has given us.
Thank you. Allow me to make an observation here by Andrew Mwao, who's saying this tax is not necessarily a bad thing. It is always good to give back and appreciate those who helped you along the way. The problem is when it becomes exploitation and overtaxation,
Yeah.
this now becomes burdensome. And that's very timely and profound. Andrew, thank you so much for sharing us. And so I have a last question or a scenario to ask to this team, and it has to do with, we've painted, and like I said before, we seem to be agreeing there's a sense of responsibility that is expected on us when it comes to the issue of giving. I'm in a young family, we just finished school, got married, we're starting our lives. But then we both come from families who are relatively stable. So not much, not too rich, but they are fine. They got shelter, they have food, they're fine, they're doing okay. And we are just starting life. We are fine as well, but we don't have these quote unquote successes to now transfer back to the family. And I paint this scenario because, Bishop, there's something, as you were explaining when it comes to the issue of giving, you did use the word honor. Am I in this case, in this scenario, where we are both at par? You use the word mesogamy.
Yeah.
Mesogamy. We are almost at par with them. Am I expected to look back and honor these parents in that way? And how should I apply? What's the wisdom around there? Should my parents even expect that honor in that sense?
I
If you're
think
at
the place of honor, we shouldn't just think of it in terms of resource transfer, because there are many other ways we can honor our parents. And you know, sometimes actually parents expect very little sometimes of their children. The fact that your children are doing well is a blessing to you. It just happens. I think, you know, when you have your child, I think a parent is somehow a picture of God, because when it comes to children, at least when they are young, we are very selfless. We can literally lay our lives, and many times we do, lay our lives down for our kids' sake. You sacrifice everything to give them a better chance than you had yourself. That is if you're a normal parent, yeah? And this is what parents do. So at the end of the day, the biggest honor that I can receive as a parent, it's to hear my son is now leading, you know, he's the CEO of this mega corporation, you know, and I don't want anything from him. I just said, oh, by the way, that's my son. You know, that's a point of pride like you've never seen in a parent. So the parent is heavily invested for the success of the child. But that child, even as their CEO of, say, Safaricom or some other huge multinational, it's not that they're going to transfer resources, a lot of resources to me. That's not what I'm looking for. Already there's a lot of honor in the fact that my name is being carried on in such a wonderful way. But if they come home and they have time for us as their parents, they're checking in on us, how are you doing? Maybe I have my favorite spread, you know, the one I put on my bread. And my son knows that. And that's what he comes with. You know, it's not that I can't afford it. I will afford it for myself. But when I'm applying, it's, oh, this one was brought by my son. Even as I'm applying, the bread tastes different.
As you think about your son.
An emotional connection with my son or my daughter. And there's something specific that they know about me or the mother that they're going to do. And I know, this I was given by my daughter. It's very special. That is honor. It's not that they've transferred resources. In fact, they'll never transfer as much resources to me as I've transferred to them. So it's not even a transaction at that level. So even when the parents don't apparently need anything, they still need that relational context where you can speak honor by checking in on them and seeing how they are doing and caring for them. And you know, the other day I was thinking about you, Dad and Mom, and I was praying for you. I hope you guys are in a good place. I know you've been very busy lately. How is everything? That means a lot to a parent. So that equals honor, and it's also pleasing to God.
Wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to say something Reverend Maggie once mentioned to us a while back. I don't know whether you guys remember.
Please remind us.
And she said, a part of how you can help you as a couple, how you can plan for your lives and for the future, so that you don't feel burdened by the responsibility to honor your parents, was, and I think it will also help with this question of comparison still, was that you can put a list of what is needful, and you can say on top of our list is the medical issue. If anyone is sick, whichever family they come from, that one is our highest priority. Then maybe you can say the next is education. If anyone is in need of, because that will help them to be put in a position in life where they don't need to be in this situation for perpetuity. So you put a list of priorities, not as this family or this family, but the things that are needful. Then she said you can split your funds in such a way that you put some money aside and say, this is for our parents, so that I'm not feeling like every time we need to give, we need to honor them in our resources. It's like we're getting from our money. It's your money, but you split. You said this 2K every month or 5K or 10K every month, we're putting aside towards the betterment of our parents. So every time there is need, you go to their fund. You know what I mean? In a manner of speaking, in your mind, you have separated the concern. So it doesn't make you feel like it's burdensome for you to honor your parents and feel like God is giving me too much on my back. He knows my salary, he knows my situation, he knows, and yet he is expecting me to. You know what I mean? So you help yourself to obey God in that regard.
Wisdom right there. Amazing. Rev Maggie,
I quite forgot that I said that because I wanted to add something. I just wanted to add and say, when we don't understand, then we don't act correctly, and we do feel burdened. But when we realize that our parents are people, why can't we have a conversation with our parents? And I know that's not normally the case, because when we are young, we still fear our parents.
Yeah, yeah. And it carries on into adulthood.
It's true, isn't it?
So whatever they demand is like, this is the
Yes.
law.
The way they
It's
demand
like
it
the
to
headmaster
go, yeah.
requiring that you
Last
submit your
winter,
homework,
the same thing, bring
or you
money.
go to sleep at 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
You know, lights off
Yeah.
is 10 o'clock.
Yes.
So we go to that on with that mentality even to marriage.
Yeah.
So we lose the opportunity to negotiate.
Yes.
We lose the opportunity to talk to parents as friends. We lose that opportunity to develop a working relationship as far as our resources are concerned.
Yeah.
So we feel we have to either hide, we don't tell them the truth, or we have to borrow. I do know people do borrow to please their parents. I also have heard that people do borrow, a different way of borrowing. They'll take money that is not theirs to please their parents. Then I think we have missed the entire point.
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
our parents are our parents. And truly, at the end of the day, they do love us. And we do know that parents sacrifice completely and absolutely so that we can get an education, we can get that career. If they are Christian parents, they pray for us, they support us. So when it comes to a relationship that is not balanced, we feel obliged to do what is not either morally correct or legally correct so that we can please them. I think we have to allow our people to understand that our parents are people. The same way we tell couples, you used some lines and you got them in the box. Use them, get some lines going. Let's not be stuck where we
Yeah,
started.
where we were
So I
a
think there's also a prayer for me that our people and our young couples get to a place where they understand their parents well, so they can have a conversation. And it's amazing when you get that conversation going, it changes everything. I do know, I was talking to one of our gardener, and he was stranded because of some issues in his life. And when we walked through the issues that were causing him to be stranded, he actually felt in a place where he can actually shift his goal, which is personal, towards first of all meeting their parents' goal in a permanent way. So we got him to think of savings. He's been saving. Now instead of buying something for himself, start with his parents. He's too young.
Yeah.
So when people begin to think about investing in their parents, even early, they can do something. So he's saved enough to buy 2 small cows, and that will go to his parents, and the blessings will come. We desire to be blessed.
Yeah.
So we can encourage ourselves to seek the blessings by also acting wisely. Let them invest. Let the parents let them show off. This is my son. This is Mathenge who brought me these 2 cows. So may the Lord bless Mathenge.
Yeah.
Every time they think about, they see the cow or whatever gift it is, they think about you and they speak a blessing to you.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want a blessing every day?
Yeah, beautiful. And because you're all pastors, you cannot run away from this question. Finally, what does the Bible have to say about this issue of paying cultural tax?
The cultural tax.
You are under heavy obligation.
Speak for the pastors.
Right? This is challenging because at the end of the day, you know how the Lord is. He will not let you. He is the one who blesses you.
Yeah.
So he knows what you have.
Yeah.
Now, he will not allow you, not to share his blessings. I think as Christians, there is responsibility.
Yeah.
I think initially, Madenge had talked about all these constituencies
Yes.
who are making demands from the village to the church to the relatives and so on. And probably from God's point of view, we can talk about what we call a growing circle of responsibility in terms of sharing our resources. And with God, it always begins with your nucleus family. I think there's an obligation. Let me just read a text, 1 Timothy chapter 4, from about verse 3. He's really talking about, even if you begin from verse 1, chapter 5, verse 1, it talks about how we should relate with each other. Because at the end of the day, this is about relationships. Let me start from verse 1. Do not rebuke an older man harshly, but exhort him as if he were your father. Treat younger men as brothers, older women as mothers, and younger women as sisters with absolute purity. So he's talking to a young pastor, Timothy, and telling him this is how you should relate. Give proper recognition to those widows who are really in need. So the question of believers providing for needy people is already a foregone conclusion. God expects that we will help. But if a widow has children or grandchildren, these should learn first of all to put their religion into practice by caring for their own family and so repaying their parents and grandparents, for this is pleasing to God. So when it comes to God, it's not even a question that I'm doing it because I'm a nice guy. No, it's my obligation. I'm paying back what I owe. So it's a debt in front of God. And so if I do not help, if my mom, for example, if I'm not helping my mom, I owe that debt before God. And then he even takes it to the grandparents. If her mom is still alive or her dad is still alive, then I'm expected as a grandchild, because here we're talking bloodlines, that this is my first responsibility. And somehow God knows, if you don't care for your own bloodline, then how on earth would you ever care for God, who you will never meet or see on this earth, who you can only experience, or for that stranger who is not connected to you in any way? And so it's a big thing. And he says, this is pleasing to God. It follows then, if I neglect any of my bloodline in that sense, this is not pleasing to God. So then I can't go and expect blessings from God when I'm not meeting my very basic obligation. In fact, let me read to you verse 8. It says this: anyone who does not provide for their relatives, and especially for their own household. So this is a cycle of obligation. Relatives, own household. So we've even come now zeroing down to my wife, my kids, and so on, and now my mom, and especially for his own household. He has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. That's a heavy indictment before God. And just to say this, because it's God's word and because God says so, I will do it. And my experience, because I believe I've done it for a long time, is that I have never lacked because I helped. In fact, the opposite has always happened. And this is how sometimes you'll see people who seem to be doing well. Not everybody, but some people seem to be doing extremely well. But when you have a conversation with them and you hear how many people they have helped, you are like, we sometimes think, oh, he's so well off, that's how come he can afford to help people. But that's not how it works.
It's the other way
Because
around.
he helped so many people, he is so well off, or she is so well off. In other words, God has seen you and seen, Jasmine, you take me seriously. So you do recognize that you're a conduit of my grace to people. And as long as you keep on giving, God says, you know what, Jasmine? You will never be without. I will make sure that I open my doors to you so that whenever there's a need, I will have provided ahead of time. Because I know you, when you see that need, you're going to provide. We say we live life with open palms, receiving from God. Once you receive, you pass it on. But if you are the fist clencher, then God comes back to put and he says you're still holding on. Some of it has gone stale that he has given you. But because you have nobody to give and you have eaten enough, it would rather go stale in your hands. Swell our bank accounts and even with money that we don't need in 2 generations. Then God says, you cannot be a blessing. And then he passes on to somebody else. And those people are very happy because, there's something that happens when you see somebody that you helped come up and become all that. And then they too start to bless you. So Christians cannot escape obligation. There is responsibility before God, to our immediate families, and then the growing circle of the society or responsibility to those who are first and foremost blood connected, but also to come to a church like this and know that there's the widow, the alien, and the orphan are our responsibility before God.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Indeed, God is no man's debtor. And that we call it cliche scripture. It is more blessed to give than to receive.
Indeed,
And God is true to his word. Thank you so much for that reminder. Guys, thank you so much for contributing and engaging. I've really enjoyed this discussion and I feel edified and I've learned better. I hope to change from now onwards. And asanteni sana our viewers for staying with us. That's it from Homescapes today. Until next time, God bless you.
God bless.